Well, today's Silver Update is brought to you by the coalition of women who do not want to join the military but would rather be riding around on the beach on their bicycle with their little dog. Right. Anyway, I put something out about the women in the military yesterday, so I was surprised it wasn't more controversial than I thought. But anyway, hey, who else knows? For today, though, with silver, I'm going to talk about a couple things where I think it's going right away. I've been saying I think it's going to have a strong finish up. Last night it was dropping like 25 cents, and here it's going up 16 cents or some crap. And markets are going up a little bit too, and oil's moving up a little bit. But, I want to point out that this fiscal cliff, I'm not sure what the hell this is going to have an effect on the metals as much as people think. Because, first off, some parts of the fiscal cliff are probably not going to occur. The one that's going to occur is about taxes that will not be, tax breaks that will expire for 250,000 income and above. But you know what? That's bad news for the economy because they're talking about businesses that have 250,000 and above income, and actually those are small businesses that hire people and, facilitate productivity in the country. So that's actually going to be a bad thing. If you actually look back to the time of the IRS was first formed with the 16th Amendment to the Constitution, the way it was sold to the American public was that it was going to soak the rich and it wasn't going to touch the poor or the middle class. So anytime a politician tells you that they're only going to tax the rich, I know better. And when you think about it, and if you know a little bit about what goes on in reality, and they do this all legally too, there's so many different ways you could set up companies and partnerships and do things offshore and with partnerships and all this kind of crap that, they don't wind up paying that many taxes anyway, right? If they know what they're doing. It's all legal. It's 100% legal. And the other thing is, if they're really going to stifle the rich and tax them for every move they make, what they do is they just sit on money and they don't do anything. And that's part of the problem why silver and gold aren't going up. Let me explain that further, because the rich are just sitting on money. They're sitting on capital. They're not really doing anything. They're just sitting on it, right? So, you could do, like, say for instance, you're going to have a capital gains tax expire, right? You could say, well, I could sell now, or maybe the law might be changed a few years from now, because if I sold now, what do I go into? What do I go into, right? Maybe the law might be changed, or maybe the law might not pass. So, a lot of times people are just like frozen. They're not moving one way or the other. And that's bad for the economy. So even as they pump more and more dollars into the system by shoring up these banks and buying their mortgage-backed securities and giving them, dollars in exchange, those dollars aren't floating around in the economy fast. The velocity of money is extremely slow, right? So what happens? What happens? Prices are staying flat. So I think that situation is going to change, though, to tell you the truth, because I don't know how much longer. So, the game is simple. Actually, the game is simple, and I'll put it right to you right straight. Say, for instance, you're the elite, and you want to own the world. This is how the elite think, okay? Everybody's an insect. They're gods, and everybody else is insects. And then, this is the way they've been thinking since, the crack of dawn, right? The pharaohs and everything. What do you think they're doing? They're trying to get everybody into debt. You pay me back with interest. Doesn't cost me nothing to give you money, but you pay me back in interest. I grab all the real property, the gold, the silver, the real estate, the mortgages, the farmland, the oil rights, the natural gas rights, the seeds, the water reserves, everything. And I own your ass, and you just work for me. That's the way they think. That's how they always thought. So you realize what's the game going on here? They're trying to push off, more and more debt onto the middle class and keep prices down on real assets until they accumulate everything in the world. All the mortgages, all the gold, all the silver. So, but does that tell you to sell your silver or that silver's a bad investment? Hell no. And I'm going to point something else out about Hurricane Sandy deal. During Hurricane Sandy, They said it's fiat was the only money you can really use, like the U.S. dollar. You couldn't really sell your silver and gold. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I mean, if any coin shop was open, they're not going to tell you the spot price dropped 50% because of, you know, the hurricane happened. It would just be whatever the markets were still working. And think about it. Think about it. Now I'm going to show the debt clock here right now, but think about it. If I was going to buy 10 gallons of gas, or somebody's going to sell me 10 gallons of gas, and say it was $10 a gallon because of a hurricane. Well, say it's, silver's around 33 or something an ounce. And so that's $3, 3 ounces of silver for $100 or 10 gallons of gas. There's a lot of people would make that exchange, I think. I mean, you might have to explain it to them a little bit, but I bet you they would do that. Well, why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they, really? I mean, what are you trying to sell them? I mean, you're not trying to sell them, you're not trying to give them Mexican railroad bonds from 1868 or something, right? I mean, it's silver. I mean, people know what the hell that is. So, I mean, I guess you might be in a little bit of a... But, most people they're pretty familiar with the spot price of silver. So, I mean, why wouldn't they make that exchange even in an emergency? They would. I think over a period of time, as the emergency dragged out for maybe instead of just some days or a couple weeks, went on for some months, you would see silver come into its own as an emergency money. Very good. And here we are looking at this debt clock going up to past $16 trillion. And we could have been showing this 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and it was up to new record heights. But there's a limit to how much this thing is going to go. And who the hell's buying this stuff? I think it's the Federal Reserve itself. And what are they doing with it? Think this out. This is real simple. But I don't know why these experts don't put out the simple stuff first. And it's really not that simple. I mean, an AK-47 is simple, but it works, right? But figure this out. Who's really buying up all that debt? Is it China? No, they're dumping the debt, right? Piece at a time, very carefully, buying up gold and silver and oil and everything else, buying up American companies that are in oil or Canadian companies that are in oil. What are they? Who's buying that debt? Who's buying the debt? The Federal Reserve, right? What are they doing with the debt? It's basically they're giving it. They're doing an asset exchange between the banks for all these mortgages that are going under. But this game can't go on forever. But the only way you can really fight this game is don't be in debt in the first place, damn it. Or, cut your expenses. Like for instance, you got this woman out here, she's on I know it's an ideal situation. It's probably exactly 76 degrees out, slightly overcast and without too much sun. Humidity is not too high. And she's riding a bicycle and she looks cute. But that's a way to save a couple bucks, and it's probably more fashionable than driving the best Lexus or Mercedes, and she can find herself the wealthy Wall Street bankster and live happily after with just by riding a bicycle and wearing the right makeup and having a tattoo. But I don't know. That's the game that goes on. But because once they get in that position, they go, "I'm the wife." Anyway, different subject. But the thing is, when they're buying up these mortgage-backed securities, they're buying them up with, toilet paper, like the 1868 Mexican railroad bonds or something. I mean, that's what they're buying them up, but they're getting something real for it. So, I look at the elite and I'm thinking to myself, damn, they're pretty smart. They're not cutting me in on that racket, so I don't give a shit. I'll explain to you what they're doing. Lindsey Williams is 100% right. But, does that mean you should just keep fiat dollars? Hell no. Hell no. I would be betting mainly on gold and silver. Actually, silver more, because, either one of them is good. I mean, silver's going to drop. The only thing what's really bad about silver is if you look at this spot price, it fluctuates more. You're probably going to do a lot better with silver over the long haul. I know you are. But it's going to drive you nuts because the price jumps around a hell of a lot more than gold. That's the main thing that's wrong with silver. And palladium is probably even more crazy and jumping around in price than anything. So, the game is they're basically looking to bust the middle class. And Barack Obama with his tax breaks that are only going to be the only ones that will not expire is going to be only on the rich. Well, that's going to affect the small businesses. These guys are all full of it. I'm going to tell you another angle on something though, and say for instance, like I was mentioning with the 10 gallons of gas and stuff like that, where you can make an exchange with silver. The other problem you might have is with Obamacare. There's a way around that too, and what way I think you should approach that is through religious beliefs. There are religions out there, and you could say you belong to this Indian religion or some crap that you're only allowed to put and use natural things to heal the body, and say it's against your religion to have to be forced to pay for pharmaceuticals and all this kind of garbage. I mean, it's an angle you can look at. And in reality, in a way, that's kind of like my pseudo-religion in some ways too, because I think these pharmaceuticals are extremely harmful to the body. They just have them because they're very profitable. So there's ways around every single thing out there. So I don't know how far long I went on this thing, but I don't want to be too long. But just sticking with the silver, and don't worry about. I know there's people out there in the silver blogging community that are they're into every freaking conspiracy out there. They're basically in a job of trying to sell silver or sell their blog or some crap. And the other side of it is that people who are looking for investment advice usually go to investment advisors, and the best ones that are investment advisors that are the most successful, because this is the best sales pitch to the public, is the ones with the most degrees. They're Series 7s, they're Series 6s, they're CPAs, they have master's degrees in finance, or they work for the IRS, they've been in business for 25 years, they know how to set up tax havens, and they know how to structure different things, and they might have all these initials after their name, but they have an extremely strong vested interest in not telling you to put your money in gold and silver. All these experts with all these degrees and all these initials, because they don't get a cut out of that, unless they're Eric Sprott, because he's got the fund. But most of them don't. But none of them really have a vested interest in telling you to buy physical gold and silver, except the bullion dealer. So, but most people don't go to bullion dealers for investment advice. Everybody's trying to sell something in some way. That's my point. But I think it is a bona fide fact that if you're heavily invested in the precious metals right now, you're in the right spot. Don't worry about it too much. I'd be more worried about the fiat dollar. And like I said, if the world really started caving in and gasoline was $10 a gallon and it was like rationed, I bet you I'd be able to buy it with silver, no problem, without getting ripped off. I bet you I would be able to. I mean, it might take a little bit of education, to tell people. I mean, I wouldn't be ripping them off, and they wouldn't be ripping me off. It would just be a fair trade. I think it would work. You just might have to explain it to a couple people, but they would figure it out. Silver's been money for freaking thousands of years, right? So, I mean, really. It's not, even in an emergency, it would still work. And in a long-term emergency, I think it would work a hell of a lot better than the fiat cash, which in effect is backed by 1868 Mexican railroad bonds or some crap. It's toilet paper, one way or the other. And that game, like I says, the shrewdest guys with controlling the toilet paper are looking to get all the real assets. They want all the insects to be in debt and have nothing, and they're just going to use them for like production. The shrewdest want oil, gold, silver, farmland, agriculture, food supply, seeds, natural gas rights. They want to own everything, and they want to get it with paper. They know what they're doing. They're not stupid. So what do? You stay mainly with the metals. I'm 100. I know I'm right about this, despite some people in a silver blogging conspiracy world. Boy, they throw a lot of yarns out there too. I mean, they exaggerate, but they're basically all correct. I'm not saying that.